Hello everyone and welcome again to another tutorial video from Basic Fishing. Now for those who have seen my past videos in this channel, you've seen me land and release a lot of sharks over the years, particularly from land-based, and I managed to land some cool looking sharks in the process. Now I know most people want to avoid the sharks as they can interfere with everything. Commonly referred as the taxman, they aren't considered to be everyone's favorite fish. But personally, I consider them to be a very special catch. It's not every day that you can just casually say to a person that you caught a shark from the beach. But now shark fishing is going to be very different for me, as recently I got myself a shark tagging kit from the boat show that I plan to use to help researchers like the Tindale Marine Research Charity Trust to get some valuable information on sharks and hopefully educate some people out there who are curious on sharks, or for those who are arrogant and need some lessons.
Who's responsible for this? Man, you need to go to a doctor.
Hope everyone else will get involved in shark tagging, but also learn on how to target sharks and release them, or if you wish to eat them, that's fine. Hope you learn a thing or two in this video, and hope you will learn on how to catch, tag and release a shark as well. Way before I learned how to use better methods on targeting sharks, I remember landing my first 2 sharks from the wharf of the old unharmed bridge, which for me was really cool. As time progressed, I was able to land more baby sharks, but it was on the day when I landed my first biggest trevally from the beach that I landed what was my biggest fish on the beach on 15-pound mono. Now that was a great moment, but learning how to fish for sharks was a learning curve and wasn't easy, at least not the proper way. Long story short, sharks are ruthless and will go for anything that is an easy meal, and your normal snapper setups just won't make the cut. I've even hooked on to a shark that took on a 3-barrel recurve hook on a nice piece of fish bait.
Whoa. Oh God! Holy cow! Whoa! First fish! Oh, what the hell? Oh my God.
It wasn't until I've decided to learn the proper way on shark fishing by watching the South African style of surfcasting. These fish shows were no doubt the masters when it came to landing huge fish on surf gear, and are also extremely respectful on any species. Occasionally I've caught a few sharks on snapper gear, both small and large, but by watching South African surfcasting videos, I found one method that became a huge game changer in my steps on targeting sharks, or just surfcasting in general. But before I proceed on that topic, I'll talk about my rod and reel setup first. The rod you need in order to be able to surfcast for sharks is a heavy duty one, and by heavy duty I refer to thick-walled graphite rods. Not only can this withstand against a shark's strength, but you'll be able to cast out huge heavy baits too. An ideal spec to look for are rods that is able to cast out 8 ounces or more, as not only you'll be able to cast out a huge bait, but you'll be able to fling the bait with good distance. For the reel, you need something that can handle a lot of drag, around 15 kilos minimum, as well as have good line capacity. My prime shark fishing setup I've got currently is this, the South African style rod Assassin Evo, matched with a Shimano Saragossa 20,000. Now, unlike the normal surf rod that most Kiwis are familiar with, like the Shimano Carbolite rod, the rod seat is at the bottom, whereas the rod seat on a Carbolite is positioned much higher. Now, while you can fish with the Carbolite rod still, and land sharks with it, which I've already proven, the problem I had with the reel seat being high was that my arms got really tight and pulling in the shark became challenging. By having the reel seat lower, it was so much easier and far more practical to wind in a shark without having to feel too exhausted on the arms. The rating on the rod was very high. Between 40 to 50 pounds, and the recommended weight sinker is between 6 to 8 ounce. As you can see, this is quite strong, and yeah, it performs extremely well. In fact, this rod is commonly used to land sharks in South Africa, and the previous owner told me that he landed a few bronze whaler sharks with the rod too. Due to the rod having such high specs, I'm able to cast out a huge piece of bait easily around 90 to 100 meters, whereas my carbolite rod only did 70 meters max due to the lower specs of 3 to 6 ounces. But the rod is also capable of landing regular fish like kawa and trevally, which is great because this gives me an option, as when the sharks aren't around, this will give me an opportunity to switch out my gear and cast out a bait to be able to catch some dinner. So this isn't exactly a specific gear but a universal one, which for me is great, especially the fact that I prefer to use a general gear that I can use in multiple situations. Now the reel is spooled with 50-pound braid and has 80-pound shock leader too, which is more than enough for the sharks along with 20 kilos of drag. Man, look at that! Finally! The Shimano Carbolite setup still works for sharks, but I found the Evo Assassin to be far more reliable with the heavy-duty scenario. Now for bait, I just use any fish bait, whether it is mullet or kahawai, and whether it is fresh or old, it doesn't matter. When I was after snapper and used these fish baits, the sharks were so relentlessly hungry for fish bait. But as soon as I quickly switched to a shellfish bait, it was then that it decided to leave the bait alone for the snapper or trevally to feed on. Another good bait to use would be bullet tuna, as this bait have a lot of blood in them, so it will be easier to attract the shark with this bait. I prefer to use tough-fleshed fish, as the soft baits like pilchard just get stripped too easily by pickers. Another method is with live bait, but this usually is an accidental way, as most people use live baits to land kingfish instead. So the rig I would recommend to use is the same rig that most South African surfcasters seem to use a lot, and that is the running ledger rig. I really like this rig as it is easy to construct yet so basic and effective whenever you are using light or heavy tackle. A pulley rig is also ideal, especially around the rocky areas as well. Now first of all, the tackle you need is 100 or 130 pound trace, but if you wish to target bigger sharks, I would definitely recommend much more heavier trace. I prefer to use mono over wire trace, as just in case I don't want to hurt my chances on hooking onto a different species other than sharks. 80-pound trace is used either for the trace for the sinker or the body trace of the pulley rig. Also, another component you'll need is a South African style impact breakhouse sinker, a circle hook around 6 to 7 bar, some hard luma tubes, and heat shrink. Now, if you cannot find these styles of sinker, another alternative component can be an impact clip of all sorts if you can find them. Circle hooks are ideal for sharks, and this KRT hook is the perfect hook for the job. By having the fish getting hooked at the corner of the mouth, not only can you release the shark without hurting it, but also makes it so much easier and fast to release the shark. If you want to, you can flatten the barb to make the releasing the shark much easier. Sharks are not line shy, especially when they see an easy food source available, but you do need heavy trace to prevent the shark from biting you off too easily. 130 pound is what I prefer to use, as not only the extra thickness prevents the shark from biting it through easily, but it's also extra heavy duty. Sharks have tough abrasive skin and can easily damage any regular line, so it's good to have an extra reinforcement. So this is what the rig looks like, and how I construct this rig is very easy. which I'll explain in the next clip. As you can see here, this is what the shark rig looks like. From here to here, that's around 50 centimeters long, and that is 130 pound trace. And how I construct this rig here is simple. All you gotta do is tie a uni knot, use 130 pound leader to tie a trace. I have a pink bead or any bead, and I have this hard Luma tube, and it's quite hard, as you can see here. That's pretty tough. And I've put that on top of the knot of this, on top of the knot of the hook, and then I've added a heat shrink, around 3 layers of heat shrink over it, so that the shark won't be able to bite through the trace easily. And so far, this proved to be a lot more reliable than having to use wire trace, because I really don't want to hurt my chance on, you know, just targeting sharks, but also be able to target land or hook on to any other species of fish, whether it's a huge snapper or a huge kingfish on. Now here is where I found a huge game changer for shark fishing. This is it, the Dingle Dangle. It's simply a synthetic braid hooked onto a circle hook with a solid ring at the end of it. This component had made a huge difference in my surf casting, especially with big baits.
So this is my Dingle Dangle rig that I'm going to be using for today. So I'm just going to hook this up, fold it, because today I'm going to be after sharks. This is my Dingle Dangle presentation that I like to use. So I'll just tie this around roughly, just so that I can get this in position. And now, snap this off. Put another layer on top of this. Alright, so that's my big shark rig right here. That's like 7-barrel KL2 hook from Black Magic with 130 pound tough trace, and hopefully that should be enough to land the sharks. Rock fishing for sharks today. I get a big model like this, make sure it measures well to the Dingle Dangle. Cut with a loop end. First I gotta scale it up. The reason I scale it is just so it's easy for me to tie my bait elastic on. So I cut it in half. Now I just slice it like an arrow, so it's more aerodynamic. Now what I'll do is kind of slash it, just like that, so that my bait cutting can be tied around it. Now what I'm going to do is cut this in half. Open it up. And now here, what I do now is I hook it through the lip and slip the cord through where I cut it, and now what I simply do is just wrap it around. So this is a simple way of doing it, and if you want to go further, here's what I'm going to do next. I'm gonna slice off a fillet or two. So there's one fillet here, and the next fillet will be here. And now, I'm just gonna cover that belly piece here, and just tie it around. Side, and the next side will be on top. to make it aerodynamic.
So this Dingle Dangle's purpose is to enable any bait to become aerodynamic without facing any form of compromises, especially distance-wise. It also keeps the rig together without getting tangled. So the solid rig can be attached to either an impact clip or the impact sinker, which works great wonders. Since I am using a circle hook, the Dingle Dangle also makes sure that the point is well and truly exposed, so that I have a better hookup rate. Another key element to have is the hook remover tool. This is such a handy tool to have, especially when you run into a situation like this.
I'm gonna get it back. Oh my god. It's deep in there. Let's try to get it out though. There we go. Woo! On a huge bait.
Not to mention, most sharks' lips are not only bony but gummy as well. So it can be a mission to remove the hook, and it's not fun when you have an angry fish like a shark thrashing its teeth around trying to bite. I don't use pliers as the risks of getting bitten is greater than using the hook remover tool. I mean, check out this close encounter.
Alright, let's unhook this beast and whoa. Oh, came off.
Now I'm going to be talking about the species of sharks that you are likely to encounter when you're surf casting or fishing off the wharf or off the rocks. Now the first species is the smooth hound, also known as the spotted rig or lemonfish. I've caught a few of these sharks before, and while they do take fish bait, you can easily target them by using snapper rigs and using shellfish for bait like crayfish. Remember, they don't have teeth, so when you see a shark like this, don't freak out as they are completely harmless, but mind you, like any sharks, they are very strong to handle. The second shark is the shark that I commonly target for whenever I use my shark gear, and this is a shark that I aim to tag, and that is the school shark, also known as the soupfin shark from overseas, but also commonly known as taupe sharks or grey boys. I consider these sharks to be quite cool looking, and although they can plague around your bait in a very bad day, when you land them, it's actually quite a special feeling. The third species is the spiny dogfish. This was quite an unusual catch for me, as they are mostly commonly found down south, and also a cold water species. The bronze whaler shark is also one of those sharks that comes in a lot closer than you think. This was a very special catch for me, and even though this shark was small, it was my first ever bronze whaler. I definitely do not plan on targeting the big mama at any time, but when that happens, you'll see me do it. But my most favorite shark out of all that I have caught was a cold water species, the 7-gill shark. This is not the most common species caught up in an upper North Island, and out of all the sharks, the 7-gill no doubt looks the most prehistoric. And since it's the less common species of shark to land, and also because the design is quite different, I find this shark to be the coolest shark to land from the beach. I definitely wish to be able to land, tag, and release this shark more frequently in the future. Well, if that's possible, that is. Now, releasing shark isn't easy, and it was really scary when I first landed and released this big shark. And while it took a lot of work, it took me a while to gain the momentum on the release, and eventually it was able to swim away nicely. But an easy tip is that take someone with you who has experience in landing and releasing sharks. But if you find yourself in a situation like me when I was alone and inexperienced, take it nice and slowly and always be careful. At the end of the day, it's all about common sense. But basically, all you gotta do is pull from the tail, and if the shark decides to bite at you, let go in the last minute. And then continue pulling it up until you get to the water. And after you turn the shark towards the ocean and the wave comes in, run for it. Now, smaller sharks are much easier to handle, but even so, show the shark the respect it deserves unless you really want to get bitten. Now remember, whatever happens, shark fishing doesn't always go to plan, as sharks can bite through your trace or you face unseen problems.
Oh my god! Woo! Oh my god! Oh my god! My PVC rod! Oh my god! Did you see that? Oh my god! He bit through that 130-pound tough trace. Oh my god! I can't believe it. Whoa! Holy no, wrong way, come on!
But then again, that's fishing for you. So I hope everyone has learned a thing or two on how to catch sharks in a more effective way through surf casting, and make sure to try it out. I've certainly learned greatly watching through South African style surf casting videos and learned a lot, and I hope to be able to tag a shark or two in the future. And remember, if you see a tag like this, remember to report it to Tindale Marines, and all you gotta do is ID the serial number, measure the size, and say where you caught the shark, and that way the info will be put to good use. Thank you for watching, everybody, and hope to see you guys next time.